All right, so have you questioned, like I have, how the Seattle Public Schools are doing or where they're headed? If you believe everything you read, turmoil seems to describe it. Don Nielsen, who we appreciate as our resident schools guru, is here to introduce a speaker who has answers. Don, will you do us the honor of introducing her?
I will. Thank you, John. I'm really delighted to be able to introduce our new superintendent. This is an introduction that I never thought I would have the privilege of making. And the reason I say that is because, as you all know, and Cheryl Chow absolutely knows, I've not been a big fan of a majority of the members of the Seattle School Board. And I was quite upset when Raj Manhas elected to retire at the end of August, because what that meant is that our new superintendent would be selected by the existing school board. And I was of the opinion that nobody of real quality would come to work for our existing school board. Well, I was wrong. This school board has hired someone of real quality. And the thing that attracted her, in addition to our school board, was our city. Our new superintendent said to me, the idea of moving to Seattle and taking over the management of the Seattle Public Schools was simply and too enticing an opportunity to turn down. And so she's here. And when Maria Goodloe-Johnson was appointed, I decided to do a little homework and try to find out a little bit about her, because I did not know anything about her. And late in June, I had the privilege of attending an education conference in Boston where I met with 5 people who have had relationships of one type or another, working relationships with Maria Goodloe-Johnson over the years, and all 5 of them, individually and independently, gave me sterling comments about our new superintendent. And then subsequently, I learned that she had been a graduate of the Broad Superintendent Academy. And the Broad Superintendent Academy is, in my mind, the finest education leadership program in the United States. And so being a graduate of that program said all kinds of things to me. But I decided to check it out. And so I called a friend of mine at the Broad Foundation. I said, tell me about Dr. Maria Goodloe-Johnson. And again, I got sterling comments about her. And if that wasn't enough, I decided to call I decided to call Carla Santorno, our wonderful chief academic officer, whom I think is a terrific addition to our school system and our community. And I was worried that Carla might not like our new superintendent and might leave. And so I said, let's check her out. And so I had lunch with Carla, and if I could use a descriptive term to tell you what Carla was like at that luncheon, I would have to say the word pumped comes to mind. She was as excited as I've ever seen her, and she is generally pretty excited. And so it was really exciting. And after I had lunch, and then after Dr. Johnson arrived in town, shortly after she came to Seattle, I had the privilege of having lunch with her. And of course, during lunch, we talked about education and we talked about the Seattle Public Schools, but we also talked a lot about her. And I asked her a lot of questions about her background, about her growing up, about her work experiences, about her, the kinds of things that have happened in her life that have created the person she has become. And I left that lunch really impressed. So, if that's not enough good news for you, we now have 4 really wonderful candidates who have decided to run for the school board in 4 different seats. And it's just possible that by December 1st, Cheryl Chow and Dr. Goodloe-Johnson will all have a school board with which they can work. It's just possible that could happen. And so, my friends, the stars have aligned. By December 1st, for the first time in decades, we may have an effective school board, a talented, dynamic chief academic officer, and an absolutely brilliant leader as our superintendent. Even during my time on the school board, we never had all 3 in place at the same time. So, my friends, it is indeed a pleasure to present to you the brightest star in that alignment, our new superintendent, Dr. Maria Goodloe-Johnson.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful introduction. I've never quite had that kind of an introduction, but I'm quite impressed that he did his homework, because one thing that you can trust is that's one thing I always do is do my homework. And I do want to say, since Cheryl Chow is in the audience, that we are the dynamic team, and I think we are definitely aligned in what we need to do for our children and for the community and for the city. So I'm very excited about actually the work and the conversations we've had since I've been here, and about the work that I know we'll do together as we move forward. So before I talk a little bit about Seattle Public Schools, I first want to say that it's an honor, first of all, to address the largest Rotary, and that I look forward to getting to know each one of you in the group. And I also want to join past superintendents in thanking you as a group for the work that you do on behalf of our children. Through your gifts of your service foundation and the work of your committees, especially the Youth in Schools and the Rotary Boys and Girls Club committees, you demonstrate year in and year out that education and youth remain your highest priority. And I congratulate you on that for a priority for your club. I look forward in particular to participating in your annual traditions of honoring our students and teachers, the Academic Achievement Luncheon, the Winners for Life Awards Banquet and Luncheon, and the awarding of Winners for Life scholarships are highlights for us during the year. There's a great deal to celebrate about Seattle Public Schools, and your leadership in supporting our schools is commendable, and it's very much appreciated. So first of all, Don told you a little bit about who I am, but I want to just briefly tell you, I'm a native of Omaha, Nebraska. My mother is a retired educator of 42 years, and had a great impact on the career path that I chose. My husband is Bruce D. Johnson. I have a daughter, Maya Jewel, who's 2.5 years old. I've been in education 27 years. I have a BS in special education, an MS in educationally handicapped, and a PhD in education administrative and curriculum from the University of Colorado at Denver. My leadership story includes several opportunities of learning and growth and success. I began as a high school special education teacher and coached soccer and cross country, and actually get the opportunity to play soccer again. When I was in Charleston, there wasn't time. Well, and 100 degrees and 100% humidity makes it kind of tough in a running sport, but have the opportunity to play again in Seattle, so I'm excited about that because the weather feels great to me. People are saying, oh, it's cold. I'm like, oh, it feels so good. So glad to be here. I was administrative assistant, assistant principal, and a high school principal, secondary director, all in the state of Colorado, enjoyed it. And then I became assistant superintendent in Corpus Christi, Texas, and had my first superintendent in Charleston, which is a beautiful place, in South Carolina, and now have the opportunity and the pleasure to be here in Seattle as the leader for Seattle Public Schools. A couple things that I think is important to know is that I operate from two theories of action. The first theory of action is that the quality of instruction in the classroom defines the rate and the quality of student achievement. The quality of leadership in the classroom, the building, and the district level defines the ability and the will to close the achievement gap. The work that we do every day is not just about instruction, but it's about challenging our students, and it's about closing the achievement gap. So delivering on this dream is what motivates us at Seattle Public Schools every single day. We intend collectively as a system that the words, every student achieving, everyone accountable, will be the reality and the outcome of our work. I want to share with you what my priorities are in the first 6 months as we talk about and really look at what the brutal facts are, what does our data say about what we're achieving, and how we'll move forward in developing a revised strategic plan. It's critical that we conduct curriculum, organizational, and financial audits to identify and target areas for improvement and change. Carla had done a great job in commissioning some audits before I got here. Curriculum audit is crucial. Our core work is about teaching and learning, and we have to know that in our core work, that curriculum instruction and assessment is being done appropriately. As we all know, in the state of Washington, math is not a favorite content area or one that we've done well at, not just from a district level, but from a state level. And we're actually a few years behind many other states as it relates to addressing the issue of math and instruction. Implementing a very strong, comprehensive initiative to turn around challenged schools. We all know that there are schools that are not performing where we would like them to perform. And so it's our responsibility as educators and as a system to ensure that we provide the kinds of resources to close the gap and improve academic achievement at those schools because they're a responsibility. And the other priority I have is about rebuilding confidence, community confidence in Seattle Public Schools, really talking about the work, what we need to do, and owning where we are today. It was funny, somebody asked me the other day in a conversation if I would own all of the transitions and all of the decisions that had been made prior to me coming. I said, well, of course not. Why would I do that? But what I will own is where we are today and where we're going to head in the future. Other priorities include creating a climate of trust and accountability, both internally and externally. I believe that as professionals, we all have an accountability system. We all should know clearly what the target is, what the expectation is, and what outcome we're working towards. We have to learn our data. We have to analyze our data, and we need to make decisions based on the students that we serve. We have to also promote the concept of diversity through access, equity, and educational justice. A lot of people questioned me about institutional racism and said, how was I going to fix it? And I said, well, the first thing I have to understand is how it's being defined. And the other thing I talk about a lot is when we talk about systems, we need to hold up the mirror because we are the system and that we make up the decisions and the actions. And so we have to look in the mirror and ask the question about what we're talking about and is it fair and what do we need to change. I talked just a minute ago about focusing on teaching and learning. What we go to work for every single day is about teaching and learning. On the first day of school, I visited 10 schools, and it was great, and it was a lot of fun. And I like to tell the story about my last stop at Madrona, which is K through 8 school. And we were, if you know the principal, you just know that if you go visit Madrona, you're going just all over. She's going to tell you everything she can about the wonderful work that the community has really done and the teachers and staff as it relates to improving student achievement. So our last stop at Madrona was a kindergarten classroom. And this little girl was just in tears. And I said, what's the matter? And she said, I'm so tired. I just want to go home. I just said, can I give you a hug? I said, I'm tired too. And so then after I gave her a hug, she gave this bright smile. I said, are you going to come back tomorrow? She says, yes, I think so. I said, that's good. I said, tomorrow will be better. So our work is tough. It's very tough. And the kids feel that implication of the work that we do. And so our work is really about children, and it's about supporting them so that they can be successful. I think it's also important to know that we have clear academic initiatives. Last year was the first year that the district talked about and developed a budget that was academically driven. It was about what are the initiatives that we're putting into our classrooms academically so we can meet our milestones. And the milestones occur at kindergarten. We want students ready for kindergarten. One of the interesting things about Washington State is that we have lots of different ways in how we provide early childhood education, and they're not systemic and they're not connected. And one of the things that clearly I'm sure you know as being members of the community and as business people and nonprofits, that 0 through 4 is critical. Early childhood and engaging our students in education, providing them books, exposing them to the opportunities to read and to be involved in our communities and neighborhoods is the key to success and to students being ready to learn when they enter kindergarten. Now, we probably don't think about it a lot, but when students come to kindergarten, they don't know their colors, they don't know their name, they don't know their letters. They're already at a disadvantage because most children come with those skills. So systemically, and what I refer to as the permanent fix, is that we need to provide early childhood classes for at-risk students in every single school in which students go to school, so when they come to kindergarten, they're ready to learn. The next benchmark is third graders reading on grade level. Well, if we get the early childhood program piece right, third graders reading on grade level will become that much easier. One of the very positive and significant things that we did this year in Seattle Public Schools is that we have in every kindergarten, first, and second grade classroom 500 book libraries in every single K1 and 2 classroom in Seattle Public Schools. That will make a tremendous impact on access and ability and opportunity for students to read. Now, one of the things you can do is volunteer to read in a classroom once a week, once a month, all year, when you drive by that elementary school, when you go to work or go home or go to church, just choose one and make a commitment to read. One of the most important factors to improve students' comprehension and ability to read is to hear an adult reading to them and giving them the opportunity to read. Might take you 20, 30 minutes max, once a week, every day, whatever your schedule might allow. That will make a huge impact in our literacy and comprehension and improvement for our students. 8th graders ready for algebra. One of the ways, if we want students to be literate in math and to have a much different skill set than what they're currently demonstrating when we talk about the WASO, then we need to ensure that our 8th graders are ready for algebra and that they're not taking algebra at high school, but they're taking algebra at the 8th grade. We need 9th graders ready for high school, which means intervention has to happen earlier during the system, at middle school, and talking about how do we prepare kids for the transition. We need all 10th graders passing WASO and reading, and then we need students, quite honestly, that are ready for work, that are ready to go to post-education, that we do not have to remediate. We have arts integration as a focus this year into the learning and teaching. Many of you probably know the impact, the positive impact that art makes on students and on learning. I was at, where was I this morning? I was at Chancellor Mitchell's Community College this morning for the convocation. And there was a gentleman who played an absolutely beautiful musical rendition on the piano, who never before had taken music lessons or played until a year ago, and practiced 3 hours a day until he was proficient at playing the piano. Not just playing the piano, but beautifully playing the piano. That was just another confirmation about what dedication, focus, and work will bring anyone or any child that makes a decision that that's what they want to do and that's what they want to accomplish. Arts education is critical when we think about our schools. Let's talk about financial health, because it's interesting. You know, money is the all-powerful, and people remember stories. And I can't tell you the stories that I continue to hear about a 4-year-old story about a deficit. So I want to share with you the facts today about where we are financially today for Seattle Public Schools. First of all, we've had a balanced budget for 4 years in a row. We have a substantial financial reserve, so it's not zero. We have ratings that reflect strong financial management. We have a Moody's AA1 bond rating, and we have a Standards & Poor's AA rating, and we have an academically driven budget. So those are the facts about the financial health of the Seattle Public Schools. Now, I don't want to confuse that, though, with the political financial condition of the state, because statewide, we're not funded the way we need to be funded to make sure that we can maximize and provide for all of our students what they need. But I do want to emphasize that Seattle Public Schools has a very good financial health situation. When we talk about improvement, it really has to be system-wide, it has to be systemic. And part of what I have found in Seattle is that we have lots of pockets of excellence. And so we have to connect the system, because we all know that whatever change or impact we make in one area of the system, it impacts the entire picture. So we're teaching the system how to make system-wide improvement. And that includes aligning the curriculum. People, you may hear teachers or neighbors talking about we have to have a standardized curriculum. What that simply means is parents should not have to guess where to go to school to get the right quality curriculum for the age of their student. So if you have a 4th grader or a 10th grader or a 3rd grader, wherever you go to school, whatever Seattle Public Schools that you choose, the curriculum, the content is the same level of rigor and expectation. Now, you can go way beyond that, but you cannot go below that, because it's important that all of our students are challenged at the appropriate level so that they continue to become smarter as they move through our system. I talked about examining data and really knowing what does Seattle Public Schools data say about our achievement, and then how do we use that to make decisions about how we spend our money, how we support teachers, and how we support kids in the classroom. That's a critical piece to do. Promoting family and community engagement is critical. We know the research is clear about parental involvement and being involved in schools, understanding what's going on at the school, what your opportunities are for parent and engagement is critical. Conducting system audits I talked about, and then establishing what's the measure or what do we expect to achieve within a school year as we talk about our students and the work that we do. And we have to clearly communicate that to the entire system and then have expectations for accountability and achievement of making those goals. The research demonstrates that the academic gains are directly impacted by the implementation of standardized curriculum. So we can look around the nation at places like Boston, Houston, Maryland, lots of places, Tennessee, urban districts that look like Seattle that made significant gains, all have done the very same thing that's supported by research. And that is that they have a standardized curriculum, focused professional development, they have a rigorous evaluation system, and they also maintain a strong focus on quality instruction and leadership at every single level. I say to people, everybody can't teach. I can't do a lot of things, but everybody can't teach, and what we have to pay attention to is that we have to have the highest quality teachers in all of our classrooms and not just in some. That's a responsibility I believe that the organization has and that I have. There's some research that McCrell put out. The other interesting thing about that data is Education Trust does a lot of work about student achievement, and when students get 2 bad teachers in a row, they never recover. So if a student just happens to get a bad 3rd grade and 4th grade teacher, a bad 6th grade, a bad 7th grade teacher, or high school, 4 bad teachers in a row, all on the same day, they don't recover. They do not recover. So the expectation that I have around accountability and quality is foremost. And I've had the conversation with staff about we're not going to talk about if we're going. We can talk about how we get there, but we can't talk about if we're going. The research real quickly about leadership is directly connected and statistically significant between district leadership and student achievement, superintendent leadership and improving student achievement, and also tenure. And I told Cheryl, I said, I'm not making this up. The research is very clear that there's a direct correlation with the tenure of a superintendent and the improving student achievement for any district. So what I want to say to you is that my entry plan is really about listening and learning, understanding the system, visiting all of the schools, creating a working and collaborative relationship with the school board. I had a superintendent mentor that mentored me in the very first superintendents, and he said, you know, Maria, one of your biggest jobs is providing professional development and building the capacity of the school board. So I think I'm a pretty good teacher, and you have to learn collaboration skills and certainly how to diversify your instruction and help people understand how we do this together and as a team. And what I want you all to know is that we can't do this by ourselves, and this is not about me. It's about our children. And what I say to my staff is, let's picture it this way. Let's frame it this way. I have a daughter, she's 2.5. I'm not going to let her sit in a classroom that's not quality. So we as professionals have a responsibility to ensure that children are not in environments that don't support their growth and learning. And that might be hard for some people, but that's where we're going. I promise you that you will be proud when you watch the transition about Seattle Public Schools, about the work, and about the changes that have to happen for our students. One of the exciting things about Seattle Public Schools is it's very doable. Everything's relative, and being in your community and your environment brings things to light. So I challenge you to challenge us, to ask for information. We're trying to become more two-way in what we put out to the community so people really understand the work that we're doing and the reality of where we are today, along with the reality of where we have to go. So I thank you for this opportunity. I take cues really well. I saw him stand up, so I thought, okay, let's wrap this up. So thank you very much for the opportunity to speak.
don't wait, because we got questions, that's why I'm up here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, Maria, for bringing us a date, but I came up here, as I just told her, because I want to have a chance for you guys to have some questions. So if you have a question, raise your hand. It's got to be in the mic.
I'll give you a quick one. Have you read Don Nielsen's book, and what did you think of it?
Not yet. That's a better answer. There you go. Thank you. Great question. It was about having a standardized curriculum. How do you adjust to student learning styles and the diversity that students bring to the classroom? And one of the things that I think we don't talk about is really good teachers have a toolkit. And in that toolkit, they already know what the differentiated strategies are and the pedagogy that they use in their teaching. So the curriculum really does not impact or should not impact a teacher's ability and skills to teach all kids, because we really for years have been differentiating for students in the classroom. It's just the curriculum is a clear indication of this is what you really need to teach, and you can't go below that. You can go above that, and in a quality classroom with a good teacher, they're already differentiating and doing ability grouping and pull-outs and intervention and support, so that piece should exist.
Off to your left, a question from Michael Campbell.
It seems to me about a year ago there was a lot of press about the ratio of the expenses for a school district to administration and classroom. Somebody even suggesting that expenses for administration shouldn't rise above a certain percentage level. Is that a red herring, or is that a valuable metric as far as you're concerned in evaluating the district?
I think it's a valuable metric, and I think sometimes what happens is that instructional costs get categorized differently, and we have to clearly communicate and understand how that's being categorized, because I think you're talking about the 60-40 phenomenon where 60% of the money should be direct instruction in the classroom. Well, if I'm a literacy coach and I'm going in providing intervention for kids, that's direct instruction. The question becomes, is it being counted? So I don't know enough yet to know how that plays out for Seattle, but it's certainly something that's on the table for conversation about how we allocate resources. Okay.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you again, Maria. Seattle 4, from its very beginning, has been interested, looked after, supported both the Seattle Public School and its students. We look forward to your making them stronger and better. I would especially appreciate it, as you know from my year, that we love to hear that arts are going to get integrated into the schools. I'm a firm believer in that. Have you heard of the Densho project? I hadn't. By this time next week, we'll all know about and better understand the Japanese-American Second World War internments. Don't miss this significant part of Seattle history. We return to the Westin. See you there.
Seattle Rotary Online is made possible in part by a grant from First Choice Health, working with the Washington Health Information Collaborative to use technology to bring better health care to patients throughout the Pacific Northwest. First Choice Health,